All right, well, good morning. We're ready to get back in the swing of things. It's been a couple of weeks break back into the Basic of Biblical Hebrew 2 in our second really semester, looking at the Basic Biblical Hebrew grammar book by Van Pelt and Pratico on chapter 28. We're dealing with the Hophal stem strong verb. And so I want to bring out just a few thoughts about the Hophal stem. It does kind of remind us of sort of a really necessary truth sometimes that there are moments when we're not the main character of the story of what's going on, that God is. Remember in the Hophal, we had that before our break. Someone causes something to happen. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're the one in control. Maybe you're the agent who causes something, or you initiate the action. But in the Hophal, that control is taken away. You, the subject, stands in the receiving end of the action. You didn't initiate that action, and that can be uncomfortable from time to time. We prefer to be the Hophal. That is, I prefer to make things happen, to take charge, to shape outcomes. But much of life and much of God's work, as we know in us, happens in the Hophal. That is, He causes, and we're the receiving. We're acted upon, we're formed, we're changed, sometimes even broken. Think about passages where judgments or deliverance is described passively. Someone is brought low, someone is raised up, someone is delivered. For example, consider Isaiah 53, verse 5. The translation is, but he was pierced for our transgressions. The word pierce, mahokla, refers to being pierced, being wounded. That's passive. Jesus is not acting himself, he's being acted upon. He's receiving the action, and the agent who's doing the action is really not stated, but it's not absent. The agent is there. Isaiah doesn't say that he pierced, that would be the cow, the simple nuance, the simple stem. He pierced. Or he doesn't say that he caused the piercing. That would be the Hophal. Instead, it says he was pierced. That's the Hophal. And so Jesus receives the action. He was acted upon, he was afflicted, he was pierced. And yet, this is not some kind of random violence. Isaiah makes it clear in the very next verse, in verse 6, that the Lord laid upon him the iniquity of us all. So, who is the hidden agent behind within the Hophal? Well, it's God Himself, we understand. And we know that God is the hidden actor, the one who initiates the action behind the scenes. The Hophal, in it, strips away the illusion of ultimate control that we want to have, that we have control. And the reality is, we don't have ultimate control. It forces us to really ask who's really doing the action. In the Hophal, it trains us to see that God is often the unspoken subject of the action, and we're the recipient of that action. The Hophal here forces us to wrestle with really a deeper thought than just surface level suffering. Jesus is not merely the victim of human cruelty, he's the object of divine redemptive action. What looks like helplessness is actually intentional, it's actually sovereign, actually saving work of the Creator. So in our lives, sometimes we can feel like Isaiah 53, that things happen to you, things you didn't choose them. You wouldn't have written the story, the event, the activity that way. That's the Hophal perspective. It's what's happening to you. And Isaiah 53 tells us that God does some of His deepest and most profound work when we're not the ones acting, but when He's acting upon us. I mean, we can only look at we can only need look very far. We can look at baptism, where we're not the one who saves ourselves, but when we come in contact with the blood of Christ in that watery grave, the old man of sin dies, and we rise up to walk in newness of life. That salvation is what the Holy Spirit, what God Himself does. It's not what we have done. In obedience to Him, He has taken away our sin. So when we find ourselves in this Hophal situation, that is, that we're not in control, we're not the one initiating, we're just really enduring. Don't assume that God is absent. He may be the very one at work doing something that you and I can never accomplish in the Hophal because we're not in charge. He is. And so consider that as we move into chapter 28 of our Basics of a Biblical Hebrew. As we looked at the Hophal, ultimately, the Hophal is going to show us the Hophal, we're going to look at the strong verb. The Hophal stem is going to show us that it's a causative action. In the Hophal, remember, it was a causative action, but it was active. You were doing, the subject was doing the action. Now in the Hophal, it's not you, it's you're the one receiving the action. Just like in the cow was a simple nuance of, but it was an active kind of action. But its corollary would be the Nifal. The Nifal was the passive in the simple nuance, simple type of action. So let's bring up our PowerPoint and we'll start try to go through that here. Let me find that. Any questions or thoughts, guys, that you guys want to bring out? Anything profound from the last 2 weeks that you had happen? Let me find my PowerPoint.
All good.
Okay. Okay. Where's it? Yeah. Recording. We'll go to iPad. There we go. Okay. And shrink that up a bit. And come down here and do a share screen. And share this screen. Fix that. Sharing. Okay, now we get the right screen so I can see what's going on here. Okay, that works for me. Everybody see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So let me get this, rearrange this out of the way. I like to use both the book to bring out a couple of things, and as well as okay, there we go. That's better. What you think?
Yep.
All right. Oh, I hit my cord. Let's see if I can get it back. Morning, David. Glad you made it. You doing all right? David?
Boker Top.
Ah,
I'm doing all right.
good.
I was taking
Family, good?
my kid. Yeah, I was taking my kid to the school. Sorry about that.
And now you go to school. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, I messed something up here. Let me figure it out and get it fixed. So, I'm going to share screen. I got to share my PowerPoint on my iPad, and to do that, I have to use a different tool. Unfortunately, just so it's like a couple extra steps. It's not a big deal, but it depends on my iPad being connected physically to my computer, which it is. But and there we go. Okay, now I can share screen again. And share screen. That should do it. Okay, and now I should be able to. All right, we're all good, I think. All right. So as we begin to look at the Hophal strong verb, we're going to only look at and focus on the perfect, the imperfect, and the participle. If you notice on your book on page 310, note number 1, the bottom there, footnote, Hophal stem occurs only 396 times in the Hebrew Bible. It appears in the perfect 109, imperfect 163, and imperative twice, infinitive construct 8 times, and absolute 6 times, infinite absolute, and the participle 108 times. So our book, because it appears so infrequently, with the imperative, infinitive construct, and infinitive absolute, it doesn't even go over it. And we won't either, because the vast majority of the time it appears, it's going to be the perfect, imperfect, or the participle. So basically it's a short chapter, guys. And basically almost everything you already know. And so now we're just kind of strengthening what you know. So hopefully we don't, feel like we're freaking out. So we want to talk about what the meaning of the Hophal stem is, and talk about the conjugations, that is, the perfect, imperfect, and participles here. The others, as I mentioned, really aren't very frequent, so the book doesn't even go over them. And then we look at the stem diagnostics. How do we recognize it? And it's really quite straightforward and pretty simple. And hopefully, if you remember when we looked at the verbal stems, we have the simple kind of action with the call and the nifal. The active voice, of course, was the call, passive in the nifal, or reflective nifal. And so we're moving towards the causative action. We already did the hip fill with the active voice, and now we're just taking, in the same way we did the call and the nifal, we're just taking the hip fill and doing the passive, corresponding passive voice for the causative action from the hip fill to the Hophal. And so then next week we'll do the PL and the pual, which will be the intensive actions, and then the hip IL, which will be the reflective voice for the intensive kind of action. And then we're finished. So if you think about it, as I'm mentioning to Brother Ben earlier, we started with 19 students back in Hebrew 1 in August of 2025. We're down to the four, I don't say most serious because that would be inappropriate, but the four that have endured this. And I'm grateful. And here's the point, we're nearing the end. And hopefully you're beginning to, or feeling like, okay, I'm just building on what I already know. Yeah, I may not remember everything, but I'm building on it. And every time I do that, I get a little stronger in it. And hopefully you're able to look at commentaries or look at the text and sort of begin to see a little more depth in the background than, say, your Spanish translation or your English translation or whatever translation you might be using. So I wanted to kind of highlight that. When we talk about the Hophal stem, really it's the passive of the hip fill we've already mentioned, and it's used to express a causative action with a passive voice. In the hip fill, him leak would be the hip fill stem with the referring to the active voice. And so we have him leak, right? And so this is a closed syllable. Remember, it's our closed syllable. I'm trying to bring back memories here. Fond memories, I know. So he leak would be he made someone king, right? He made David, David king. He made Solomon king, or Saul king, or Solomon king, whatever. When we move to the Hophal, we got the same thing. Now, this is not the kamates. Remember, this is a closed syllable, right? It's closed because it ends with it's ending with a silent shavah. And so this kamates is a kamates. Anybody remember? Kamates hatuf. So that's not the A vowel. That's the O class short vowel. Okay. So how would you pronounce this?
Homlak.
Homlak. Homlake, homlak, right. I do struggle with this paddock. Typically it has more of an A sound, but oftentimes it gets pronounced with a, I've listened to people over and over, smarter than me, and I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm not sure what the right answer is, but homlak or home lake, yeah. That's exactly right, Ben. I think that was Ben. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, clear the screen here. Hmm. Oh, I didn't want that. I definitely don't want that. Why is that there? Okay. Okay, that's the symbol I'm looking for. There we go. All right. Okay, so we have the he was made, and so we put it in a passive form to show that the subject, here's the subject, right, is not doing the action, but is receiving the action. He was made king versus he made. Here he's doing the action, right? Let's talk about the top 10. Pretty straightforward. Anyway, let me back up. Any questions here? Does this make sense to everybody? Hopefully we have Himlik, and Homelock. Any questions on what it looks on what it look? Well, yeah, let me add this. What's the difference between this and this?
I guess it's the vowel, isn't it?
Yeah, the vowel, exactly right. So think about it for a minute. The hip fill, Hiph, is it IL? Hip fill, hif. The Hophal, ho.
Oh, okay. That's good. All right.
Okay.
That should help you kind of
That it
recognize
helps.
that is a kame tatuf. It's a O class vowel. It's the hope fill. And
Okay.
so that would be the O P H A, Hophal. And so that would help. The other thing I want to point out here is that notice this potic here. The potic, remember we have root one, root two, root three. This is our performative, our prefix, or our performative position. So our performative vowel is the commutative. Our stem vowel, this is the stem, remember? And that is the potic. And those are the diagnostic features that you're really looking for over and over again. Does that help?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. All right, so let's do a little further then. All right, the top 10 Hophal verbs. Now notice that when you go to your lexicon, here's the word moot, right? Moot, there's the U class, U class U, U class vowel. In the kamates, it means to die. Or excuse me, in the kal, no kamates, it means to die. Or kal, simple action, is to die. In the hifil, remember hifil is causative, but it's active. It means to kill or put to death. But in the hopeful, it means to be killed. And so you see the passive action occurring.
I got a
So
point.
the word moot has a call usage in scripture. It has a hipfil usage in scripture and a hopeful usage in scripture. That makes sense? You guys okay? All right, but in this word right here, nagad or nagade, there is no call in scripture usage. You have a hipfil, meaning active, to tell or to report, but you also have the hopeful, meaning passively to be told or be reported or that type of thing. Okay, so you can see when you look at your lexicons, if there is the call is what you normally start with. If there's not one, they'll just list the ones that are being used in scripture. So
They
yeah,
in that case in Nagad, I see the vowel pattern as in kal, right? So it's just for the so any purpose of
that's a good point. And I didn't even look at that. That is the vowel pattern that we see for the cow. And so I didn't even look at that. Let me just see if there's something in the. Let me look something up real quick because we have time. It's a short class. I'm going to look something up and I may share the screen real quick. Let me pull it up here. Hold on a sec. Let's see. No, God. All right, let's get out of this. And
I was thinking probably is that the word exists, but not in the Bible, perhaps.
I think that's a great point. I think that's exactly correct.
Mhm.
But let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to find what's the easiest way to find it. If I search for, let me look at, no, I'm not there. Let me go to this book. Library. Gotta get. Oh, a minute. We'll play with this. I'll show you the screen in a minute. Well, let me go and share screen so you can see what I'm doing. Stop share. Share. Share my. Not that screen. This screen. Okay. Okay. So let me go. Let's see. I don't want that. No, not there. Oh, here's the that's what I want right there. Okay, so well, that's not what I want. I want actually the lexicon. Not the okay, this one will work. So let's type in those letters. Let me change my font to Hebrew. And I don't remember, I never remember, because I don't use it often enough, the keyboard. So I have to get my picture of the keyboard here. And so I want, what letters do I want? The noon,
N, G, and D.
the noon, G and D. Let's see, where's the noon at? Okay, that should be away in the and final cough, final cough. Should be the L. Let's see if it will give us the word.
It was Dalit.
Was D.
Was it a Dalit? Oh,
Yeah.
it is. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Not a final cough.
That's why I said NGD.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. So let's see. B. What was it again? B and dot S.
There you go.
There it is right there. All right, so let's see what it says.
My God, yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Be
All right.
conspicuous.
God, be conspicuous, conquer, overcome, be apparent, conspicuous. What it says to tell, to report, to be reported in the Hophal. So we start with the Hophal right here. And there it is in the Hophal. And the one thing about this Hebrew lexicon, it's just not the easiest to read. You have to go through line by line, and it will often give us any usage outside of here, like the Arabic and other usages for it. But I don't see that. So I just see the Hophal. To declare, to make known, to expound is a second meaning of something before not understood. To inform of, okay, to publish, to declare, to proclaim. And there's the Hophal right here. So notice this little cross right here. That means that all the biblical usages of the Hophal is apparently Hophal perfect is here is represented.
Joshua 9:24.
Yeah. And here's the imperfect form and da da da. So anyway, so okay, it didn't give us anything more than we did.
Nothing about cow.
And yeah, nothing about cow. So it's not even here in the lexicon. But that's the point that, you know, I wish it would have, and maybe there's some places that show that exist. So it doesn't really answer this. I have to do more research. But I think you're probably right, David, that this Kamate's product vowel pattern is a cow stem identifiers, and that may be just something that's not biblically used.
Or just for the lexicon form.
Yeah,
They
well,
them.
yeah, I'm not sure. I think the lexicon is, um, if the cow doesn't exist, it's not going to use the lexical form of the cow. But so it must exist somewhere. So I think you're right. But anyway, that was a fun, maybe useless activity. I don't know.
That was good.
Yeah. All right, so let me get back to where were we? We're going to go back to the PowerPoint. So let me share again. And this time I'm going to share it here, this PowerPoint. Okay, as I put this out of the way so I don't mess it up. All right, so let's get back to, I don't need this, get this out of the way, it's in my way. And I need to see this and get to, okay, now I'm seeing what same thing you are. I want to try to see what you're seeing. I have 2 or 3 different screens that come up when I do this, and I want to look at your screen. All right, so yeah, I think that's a good point. That is the Cal form, but it only seen as we saw in the lexicon, the Hipfil being the active causative active voice, Hophal being the causative passive voice. Here's Bo. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. It is in the call to go, to go in, to enter. In the Hipfil, causative active voice to bring in. In the Hophal, passive causative voice to be brought in. We'll go through all 10 because we have time. Here is an interesting one. Shazar. Shazar is Hophal participle, meaning twisted, and all its uses are in between Exodus 26 and 39. Thought that was an interesting point. I didn't go look it up, but that might be a pretty good devotional, really. Well, Hebrew-based devotional. One minute. My eyes are watering. I'm crying. Allergies. And here's a nakah, and Hipfil to strike, a causative. So here there's no kal given for it, and that does have a kal. Even the kametz vowel pattern can be a kal for some instances, if you remember. To strike, to smite, and Hophal, the causative passive, to be struck down, dead, or to be beaten. Shalak, in Hipfil, to send or to throw, and Hophal, to be thrown. 125 times it appears in the Old Testament. Yaval, Hipfil, to bring, or to bring a tribute, or to lead, and Hophal, to be brought in or to be led. Yadzak, in the call, to pour out, cast, and Hophal, I guess there is no Hipfil form, to be cast or to be poured out. Galah, in the call, to uncover, reveal, Hipfil, to take to exile, Hophal, to be deported, probably into exile, as the Israelites were deported to Babylon and to Syria and such. Here's Pakad, in the call, to attend, to number, to appoint, the Hipfil, active causative, to appoint, to entrust, kind of using the same call, and we talked about that, the same call kind of voice or nuance here, but the Hophal is to be appointed in the passive form. So that's the 10 most Hophal used verbs, and hopefully it gives you some idea of it. Does that help a little bit? All right, we're going to go a little further here. Let's see. Go ahead. Somebody had something? Now let's talk about the diagnostics. All right, the most important diagnostic feature is going to be, this is the, we're talking about the prefix, right? The performative vowel, P-E-R-F-O-R, performative vowel. And this can be 2. It could be the kametz hatuf, remember that's a kametz hatuf, or the kibitz. Kibitz, K-Q-U-I-B-B-I-T, kibitz, yeah. And so either one, and so we'll see both. I don't know the frequency of one versus the other in usage, but you'll see both. And so just remember that either one. And still a very strong diagnostic feature. You have the prefix with the hey and the kametz hatuf, or the prefix with the hey and the kibitz as this prefix, as the prefix vowel stem, added to every form of the conjugation. In the perfect, the Hophal stem prefix is going to be hu, hook, tal, hooptail, hooptal. In the imperfect and the participle, the Hophal stem prefix is dropped out, and we lose that hey. We did that. The same thing happened in the Hophal, right? And when you get to the imperfect and the participle, that hey drops out. But you maintain the vowel diagnostics for the prefix. Remember, this is the prefix for the imperfect, right? That's the imperfect prefix. But the hey will drop out, and ultimately we maintain the imperfect, but we do maintain the vowel pattern. Because remember, in the imperfect, what's the vowel pattern? It's the heroic, right?
Yep.
There's our prefix consonants with the vowel prefix for it. So, but here now we'll maintain the either the kame tatuf or the kibitz, either one. So the stem vowel in the Hophal stem is normally a padak, but in the participle it's going to be the kametes. But you'll see the padak almost all the time. So here's the key. We want to recognize the hip fill with the hey is the prefix position, normally with a kame tatuf or with a kibitz. All right. When you go to the imperfect, that hey drops out, but you maintain the vowel, prefix vowel diagnostic feature. And that will drop out in the imperfect, but it also drops out in the participle because the participle, remember, uses the mem, but we keep the vowel pattern there. Does that help, guys? That make sense?
Yes.
Okay, everybody comfortable? All right. All right, so that's the diagnostic. So when we look at it, again, you can have in the perfect form. Here's a great thing. You guys already remember, hopefully you can be reasonably comfortable with the suffix for the perfect. Perfect suffix. Or, yeah, well, I'm running out of room. Okay, doesn't want to type. You already remember that, right? There's our suffix, there's our suffix, there's our suffix, there's a suffix, there's a suffix, there's a suffix, there's a suffix. Okay, that didn't change. Nothing changed. You have the same 1, 2, 3 root pattern, right? Consonants, whatever the root is. And then you have your prefix for here the hey. Now the hey can be for the hip fill, it can be for the Hophal, but you know it's the Hophal because of the vowel pattern, and because it can be either one, right? And then you also have, in almost every case, the potic here. Now there are places where the potic doesn't show up, right? And this is the stem vowel, right? Stem vowel 1, position number 2, position number 2. There's the potic. No stem vowel here, no stem vowel here. Why is there no stem vowel on the 3 of S or the 3CP? Why is there no stem vowel there? Why is the stem vowel not a potic? Can you remember? We've done this before. I want you to start thinking diagnostically, right? We have our performative with its performative vowel, performative with its performative vowel that tells its Hophal along with the stem vowel. Those are our diagnostic features, but it's not here. It's not here. Why is it not there? Any guesses? Anybody want to guess?
Is it because he has a final like vowel?
Yeah, it's exactly the answer. The vowel here, that is a vowel letter, right? This is a vowel letter, right? So it ends in a vowel. This is a consonant with a vowel. This is a consonant, which silent shavah, consonant with a vowel. This is these end in a vowel, and so that's the reason we don't have the vowel here. Okay, so it's just a matter of fact that these end in a vowel happen to be a vowel letter. Because remember, for pronunciation purposes, if you put a vowel there, then you've got a consonant with a vowel. This is actually a closed system here. This would be an open, open, and this is open right there because that's it'd be the same as saying the kibitz right there. Anyway, that probably confused you, but yeah, that's exactly right. So diagnostically, you're going to see the potic everywhere, except, and this is why I want you to remember this, except when it ends in a vowel.
Wow.
And so, I don't know, that may help you. I hope it does. Same thing over here. We have our O class, that's the Kame Tatuf, and the U class. And so really it's it. So he was made to kill, regardless if it's Hophal or Hooptail, regardless, it's still he was made to kill. The translation doesn't change. When we talk about, here's Hooptail, Hooptala, Hooktal ta, Hooktal ta, Hook tal, Hooktal ta, Hook tal t, Hook ta lu, Hook tal tim, Hook tal tin, Hook tal nu, Hoke tal, Hoke talu, Hoke tal ta, Hoke talt, Hoke tal ti, Hoke talu, Hoke tal tim, Hoke tal ta, Hoke tal tan, Hoke tal nu. Did that help? All right, same endings, right? He was made. 3ms, no ending. 3fs, Kamates hey at the ending. She was made to kill. 2ms, you, right? There's our you masculine. Feminine, our you feminine. First common singular, I was, right? There's our ending for there. Because that's root 1, root 2, root 3. And here is the third common plural. In the perfect, remember, we don't have a third masculine plural or a third masculine singular. We have a third common plural. And so we have root 1, root 2, root 3, and its vowel ending. That tells us it's the third common plural. The two masculine, there's our second person masculine plural. There's our second feminine plural, and our first common plural is the new shirt. So hopefully you keep seeing these over and over, and they become a little more memorable for you. Does that help? We okay? All right.
Yes.
All right, so that's the perfect. Now the imperfect, it's the exact same thing, guys, except that hey is dropped, right? But we retain the prefix vowel pattern. If you remember in the imperfect, we would normally see the here yod or the tav yod, or for the third common, first common, we would see the aleph here, excuse me, not yod, and here we'd see the noon here. Instead, now we see the same consonants, but we have our Hophal Kamates and kibitz as our prefix vowel diagnostics. But we also have, again, the potic. So other than here, because of that, right, 2fs, this is, remember our imperfect has the prefix, and it has some suffixes, right? There, and there. So some suffixes, the 2fs, and then your 3mp, 3fp. 3fp and the 2fp are the same, 2mp and 3mp are the same. So pretty straightforward. And So again, this is the O class, so that's yoke tall, excuse me, toke tall. Somebody get a question?
No.
Okay. Toke tall or tail. I'm sorry. Toke, toke tali, uh, oak tall, yoke talu, toke talna, toke talu, toke talna, and toke tal. Same thing over here, but with the kibbutz. Okay. Everybody all right? Imperfect prefix, right? With the same diagnostic vowel pattern. In the participle, it's the same thing. Trying to get to the other slide here. There we go. Participle is the same thing. Remember the participle, we're going to use the mem, but we're maintaining our prefix vowel, right? Okay, let me start over here. So here is the mem with the kibbutz, the mem with the kametz. And this is very consistent right here. This is the kametz hatuf. And here, though, after that, it changes to the kibbutz again. I don't really know why. I didn't spend time to look it up. I should have, but I didn't think about it until it's too late. The other significant change in the participle, when you saw the exact same change in the Hophal, the exact same change is that potic that's on the stem vowel changes to a kametz in every single case. Now, the only place it doesn't change to a kametz is where you have an ending that ends in a vowel letter. That is a vowel letter, right? That is a vowel letter. Here's our 1, 2, 3 position, or 1, 2, 3 position. That's a vowel letter. And so because of that, this takes the, if you remember the rules, it's going to take this segol from there. So participles should be reasonably easy to recognize. You have the mem and you have the kametz hatuf or the kibbutz. Doesn't really matter if it's an O class or U class. It's still the same translation, right? You see that? Everybody okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, there's not much left, guys. That's about it. A little bit of review. Remember, participle prefixes are almost always the mem and Hophal. When we get to the PL and POL, it'll be the same thing. We get Hipfil, the same thing. The only place it wasn't for the participle is the nifil. It maintains the noon. But everywhere else, we're going to see that mem in the very beginning. And remember, for the Hophal, we're seeing the kametz or the kibbutz. In the Hipfil, it's the potic on the prefix, right? And should be recognizable if you can remember, oh, that is a Hipfil, and that is a kametz hatuf, so it's a Hophal. Hophal. And that's how you remember it. The hay is dropped because of the participle form. Same thing happened in the imperfect. The prefix stem, the prefix stem takes over the hay, but you maintain the whatever the performative prefix performative vowel is. And here's our summary, and I think we close with this. Yeah, we do. Okay, so we'll be done early, unless you have questions. So in our perfect Hophal, right, strong verb is we have the U class with the kibitz and the O class with the kametatuf. Hooktail or hooktail, right? In the imperfect, we have still the U class and the O class. Again, there's our imperfect diagnostic performative consonant, but we maintain the kibitz and the kametatuf. So it's, and we maintain our potic here as a stem vowel, potic here. So it's yuktal or yoktal. In the participle form, just like here when we dropped off the hay, we're also dropping the hay off here. And so, but we're replacing with the mem, and that's our participle. But we're maintaining the hopeful performative vowel. It's called the
Yeah.
performative vowel. Performative being the prefix, right? So
Yes.
the kibitz, the U class, and the O class, and so you get muktal and moktal, and that's our
Well, they,
participle. Yeah.
the 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 book doesn't say why sometimes it's with the O class or with the U, right?
No, I don't think it did. I didn't see it, and I didn't really look it up. It's like
Mhm.
sometimes in Spanish or in English and other languages, we'll spell the same word in two different ways. Um, and I'm trying to think of an example. I can't off the top of my head. Um,
Do you think perhaps it's for the previous word to make it more soft or smooth the pronunciation?
I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to
Mhm.
do with the syntax, that is
Mhm.
the context of the sentence. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's more associated with whatever time period or time phrase the scribes, whatever that scribe was taught or comfortable with. If you go to a certain school, you learn things a certain way. You go to a different school, you learn the same thing a little differently. And so I think it's more of whatever tradition that they will use. But I don't really know. I haven't studied that per se, but I think that would be a natural inclination. I learned it this way, so I'm going to do it this way. Um, and I've got several books, but I just didn't look it up to see why. And I'm sure there's probably somebody who studied that, just not me. So yeah, but and guys, that is the hopeful. When I divided this up in terms of what we're going to do every week for the last semester and this semester, I really wanted this to be the first week. Well, I looked at different things because it was short and simple. And after coming off a break, we never see a 2 week break, and I know a couple of you are still trying to catch up with a couple of things. Then I figured short and simple is a good way to ease back into this. And so even next week, when we get to the week, it's very short, it's very simple. So this week and next week is a good time if you're not caught up to get caught up and to get uh, organized and stay caught up with chapter 28, and we'll do chapter 29 next week. They're not complex. And right now, honestly, you should be pretty comfortable. These are not really significant changes. They're now you're just recognizing how to differentiate between, say, a cow, and nifal, and hopeful, hipfil or hopeful. And the name itself implies hopeful versus hipfil implies some of the diagnostic features that you would be looking for. And that's just getting comfortable using it and seeing it. I don't think you have trouble understanding it. Now it's just getting comfortable seeing it and using it. That's really what Friday, the homework. I did update the LMS for the homework, and that's what that is intended to do. And then Friday, going over any homework questions and or beginning to move forward in the reading with Jonah. And if y'all finish Jonah, then move on to Ruth. So it depends how much y'all get done. So hopefully this week and next week are sort of like, okay, it gets you back in the groove, keeps you moving forward, gives you time to sort of get caught up in everything. If you have not turned in the exam from last semester, it was due today before class. I will start taking points off. for being late. It's unfair to other students who got it in. So just know I'm missing 2 of them. And to be fair, I have to take points off for being late. So, okay.
Brother Dave, this time when we submitted them on the LMS, we didn't get an email confirmation. Did you? Because we usually get an email confirmation that we submitted
Yeah, you would
quizzes.
still get it. No, you still get it. Nothing's changed. Number one, we're in the spring B. So you should make sure you're in the right class, not the spring A, but the spring B Hebrew. And then the submission would be the same. You should still get an email. I'll double check to see if there's a change. But
I didn't get one, and I did submit them yesterday.
which one did you submit? I got your quiz 27, but it wasn't submitted in the LMS. You just emailed it to me.
No, I did submit it on the LMS. I guess I put it on the wrong one.
I looked this morning. It's not in there. Yeah,
because I checked. Also submitted the test one.
I don't have that either. Okay, I'll look again,
is
but I did not see it. And let me see where you might have submitted it or see what it is and find out why.
Maybe it was on the other one, but it had all of them in that list. So
yeah,
test 1, 2,
I
and 3.
look. I don't want to pull it up because it pulls everybody's grades up when I do that, and I don't want to share that.
Okay.
But I'll look today and figure out what it is and get back to you. Okay.
All right.
Okay. And
I'll check, and if not, I'll resubmit it on the right one. But I did submit it yesterday, both of them.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons for submitting in the LMS. I know we could email them. Here's the problem with emailing. I can't keep up with it, and nor do I expect all the teachers to keep up with the email ones. So when it's submitted, it's submitted in the LMS. It's automatically there, and it's time stamped and everything. So it makes it easier for all of us. Although the instructors do have to download it. And so we just show them how to download it. And once they download it, it's the same as if somebody emailed it to them. They grade it, send you the grade and the paper or whatever, and then they get the grade to us or record it themselves in the LMS. So hopefully we're getting more and more comfortable with that. I'm still working on some things to improve a couple other things, especially absentees and tardiness and that kind of stuff. That's really important, and so I'm still working on some things to get that right. So it's not quite right yet, but we're getting it. All right. Any thoughts or questions on anything, guys?
It's so good.
Okay. I'm going to pause, stop recording then.